Today, we call this webinar State of Play and the Way Forward. So definitely here again, and this is the first time that we are all of us virtually together to discuss about our project, the Interoperability Academy project that has been started at the end of last year together with DG Digit from the European Commission. And basically the idea, there are several objectives for today's webinar. First one is to introduce to all of you, just to be sure that we are all on the same page, the context in which this action was born. Yeah, if we can just keep all microphone muted, that would be really wonderful. So yeah, definitely introducing the context in which this action was born, explaining you what are the main objectives that we are pursuing with this project, and also to give you a better understanding of what the timelines are. So by when are we expecting to have a platform live and all these aspects. So that will be, this webinar will be really a good way for us to introduce all these elements. Also, what we would like to do, as I mentioned, the project already started in the second half of last year in 2019. So we have already some achievements, and we are definitely convinced that it can only be beneficial for the project to discuss this current, to present this current achievement and to discuss them with you in order to also get your view and to take lessons learned based on your own experience also. So to present also what is new in the project and definitely what is our vision for the future. You will see that's also one part where we have really now a clear direction in which we want to go, but definitely we believe again that this should be fed by your own experience and expertise, basically. So definitely, as I mentioned, there will be this first part about presenting, let's say, on our side, but also discussing and exchanging with you, which is definitely the best added value of this webinar. So what we mean by discussing and exchanging, it will be, of course, on the first achievement that we reach with this project. So we have mentioned few in this slide, but we will go more into the detail in the coming slides. But definitely, so we already built a catalog of resources based especially on what has been produced by the ISA and ISA² program, but also by the CEF program for the European Commission. So we will go more into detail on it and discuss it with you. We also elaborated several learner profiles and define learning paths. So this is also something that we definitely want now to share with you and to have an interactive discussion with you on it. Business requirement for the Interoperability Academy. So here it's more about the platform where the content, the e-learning content will be hosted. So we have our view on the main requirements, but here again, based on your past experience, we are sure that there will be here some good added value that we can get from you, especially. And as mentioned already, definitely to exchange about your experience and your expectation. So that will be basically the main objectives of today's webinar. And probably before going into the detail of this of the agenda of today's webinar, what we propose is just to shortly introduce ourselves. So we are now 30 participants. So I really propose to go straight to the point, but at least to understand from which organization you are and what is your current role, basically. So probably in order to, because yeah, it's not a physical roundtable, but to make it smooth, what I propose is that I will just let the European Commission officials in charge of this project, so George and Victoria, introduce themselves. After that, it can be the rest of the team of Traces International that is assisting the Commission in this project. And then the participant, probably the easiest way would be by the order that you see in the list of participants. But let's start with George and Victoria.
If I may, I see that Natalia is here. So maybe Natalia, if you want to say just a word.
Yeah, so maybe Natalia is on mute.
Okay. But okay, anyway, so I will start if Natalia. So I'm Georges Lobo. I'm project manager in the European Commission, and I'm leading with my colleague Victoria this action on Interoperability Academy.
Thank you, George. Victoria? Seems that we cannot hear you, Victoria.
Hello, good morning. I'm Victoria. Thank you all for participating. We will talk more later. Thank you.
Okay, so probably Tracy's team can quickly take over.
Hello, my name is Johan Clemente. I'm part of Traces International and happy to help facilitate this first webinar.
Hi, my name is Barry Kruger. I'm the e-learning advisor at Traces International, and I'll be doing some of these sessions later in the webinar.
Hello, I'm Katerina Manojlovic, and I'm also from Traces International team. And I've been working on the Interoperability Academy since last year, and welcome everyone to this webinar.
Hello, my name is Konstantina Kyriakopoulou. I'm also part of Traces International, and I'm very happy to help facilitate today's webinar.
Thank you all. Probably now what I propose is to move here to the participant, and yeah, just to make it efficient, I really propose to suggest the order that we see on the list of participants. And the first name that we have there is Ekaterini Sila. So if you want to say a few words about you, please.
Yes, good afternoon. My name is Ekaterini. I'm a member of the ESCO team from the contractor side, Everis, of DG Employment European Commission. ESCO stands for the European Classification of Skills, Competencies, Occupations and Qualifications.
Thanks a lot. We have also Miguel Alvarez. Miguel, do you want to say a few words?
Yes, good afternoon, everybody. I'm working in the same unit as George and Victoria, interoperability unit in Digit. Basically, I'm the owner of one of the training modules that will be part of the e-learning platform of this Interoperability Academy. It's a learning modules. It's a training course with different learning modules on the European Interoperability Framework.
Thanks a lot, Miguel. We can then move to Chiara. Chiara Stramaccioni.
Yes, I'm Chiara. I also work in the ESCO project from the contractor side. Yes, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Dimitrios Pikios is the next one.
Yes, hello, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Dimitrios Pikios from DG Employment, Unit E2, dealing with skills and qualifications, and I'm the project coordinator of ESCO, where Katerina and Chiara also work. We are in the same team. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you for participating. Eva Kobos is the next participant. Eva, do you want to say a few words?
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Eva. I work on the SEMIC action on the contractor side, and the SEMIC action focuses on semantic interoperability among EU member states, mostly for public administrations.
Thank you. And we have also Evrim that is participating to the project on behalf of KU11. Evrim, do you want to say a few words?
Hello, hi. This is Evrim Tam from Catholic Leuven University. As you mentioned, we are also taking part in the Interoperability Academy, and we are providing the research support.
Thanks a lot, Evrim. Let's move next to Francesco. Francesco Lozapio.
Yes, this is me. Hi, my name is Francesco, also working on the ESCO project in Unit E2 of DG Employment.
Thank you. Okay, then we have Cécile.
hello. I'm working within Unit D2 and helping Miguel in designing this the module on EIF.
Thank you, Cecile. Let's move to the next one, who is Ilias Katsagounos.
Hello to all, and sorry for the difficult name to pronounce. My name is Elias. I am the training manager responsible for e-learning at the European Security and Defense College.
Thank you, Ilias. Okay, so then we have Katarzyna Kaba.
Hello, my name is Katarzyna Kaba. I come from the Polish public administration, and we have an e-learning platform which we operate for all the civil servants in Poland.
Excellent. Thanks a lot for joining. Then we have Konrad Poli.
Hi everyone, my name is Kun. I also work for the ESCO project, and I'm here mainly to better understand what this project is all about and how we can help each other.
Excellent. Thanks a lot for joining. Okay, let's continue. We have Laura.
Yes, hello, good afternoon. My name is Laura, and I'm also part of the ESCO project. Thank you.
Thank you. So George and Katarina already introduced themselves. Milena, please. Milena, seems that you are on mute. Okay, so probably then we can move from Natalia from DG DevCo.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Natalia Ziemblewicz, and I'm e-learning developer working for DevCo Academy, which is the Commission open learning platform. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Okay, let's. Do we have Milena now with us? Okay, it seems not. We can continue with Nuria Moyes Preletso.
Good afternoon. I'm also part of the ESCO team as other colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you. And then we have Robert Krimer. Hello, Robert.
Yes, hello. Welcome, everyone. Really a highly established group here, and thank you very much for inviting me. So I'm a professor of e-governance at Tallinn University of Technology in Estonia. I'm working on digital transformation and including on the digital single market as I'm coordinating the One's Only Principle project. Next to that, I'm also engaged in an international working group on teaching public administration in the digital age. So I'm really interested in particular in your learning outcomes and the way that you have structured your training program, and I'm looking there for exchange and see how we can best cooperate. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Robert. Really glad to have you on board. Let's move to Richard Orlinski then. Hello, Richard.
Hello. My name is Richard. I'm working with Catherine Zaba in the Chancellery of the Prime Minister of Poland. We are providing an e-learning platform for civil servants. Thank you very much for invitation.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's move to Delfina Suarez then.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Delfina Suarez. I'm the head of UNUEGov, that is an operating unit that is part of the United Nations University. Thank you so much for inviting me to attend this webinar. I really hope that we will have a very valuable discussion. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot to you for joining. Let's move then to Elena from Spain. Hello, Elena.
Hello to everybody. Thank you very much for the invitation.
In my case, I'm Elena from the government of Spain, and I'm in the unit responsible for the interoperability policy in Spain. So we want to know what you're trying to share with all of us and try to find ways of using it in Spain. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, so we are reaching the final participant. Let's move then. Spiros. Papa Spirou, do you want to say a few words about you?
Yes, hello everyone. Good afternoon to all. Thank you very much for the invitation. My name is Spiros Papaspirou. I'm from region of Western Greece, and I'm here now due to Rebrain initiative. It's an initiative supported by the Greek Ministry of Labour with a pilot action in my region, and this initiative is about supporting advanced digital skills in the SMEs and in the public sector. So I'm looking forward to look how I can benefit more about this initiative and your seminar. Thank you.
Thanks a lot to you. Let's move then to Max. We have Max Trottmann.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for the invite. And my name is Max. I'm a member of the Interoperability unit in DG Digit and a colleague of a number of folks around the table. Thanks. Very curious what this gives. Good luck.
Thank you, Max. Then we have Theo Jans.
Yes, hello. Thank you for the invitation. I work for the European Institute of Public Administration, and we're providing training courses to public administrations, EU, national, and of course currently very much being asked to convert everything we do to distance online learning. So anything that we can learn on that front, happy to do so. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot for joining. Let's move to Uno Wallner. Good afternoon, Uno.
Good afternoon. My name is Uno Wallner. I am working in the e-governance academy in Tallinn, and I am working as interoperability expert.
Excellent. Thanks a lot for joining. Let's move. Yeah, I still see two names. We have Veronique Edith Verbruggen.
Good morning from New York. I'm calling from Department for Economic and Social Affairs, the Division for Digital Government and Public Institutions. I'm a senior interregional advisor, and we are developing a learning platform or a toolkit basically on policy coherence and integrated policies, in which the role of interoperability is very important. So in that regard, I'm looking forward to learn from the work that you've been doing. Thanks.
Thanks a lot for joining, even with a different time zone, basically. Let's move to Victor de Groove, who seems to be the last one on the list of participants. Good afternoon, Victor.
Good afternoon, Ludovic. Thank you. I'm Victor de Groof, and I'm a research assistant at the KU Leuven University, more specifically the Public Governance Institute, and in that role, I'm supporting Evrim with the research part. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, do we have anyone who joined during this roundtable and who didn't have the chance to introduce?
Yeah, me. So I will introduce myself. I'm Felix Pozo, and I'm also a member of the ESCO team. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Anyone else? Okay, so I assume that we have been through all the participants, and again, I think it will be really rich webinar, because basically, as you can realize, we have really people not only working in the institution, but also people working more at national level on some national initiative, also working in some international organization. So we have, I think, really a wide panel of participants, and I really hope that this meeting will be fruitful for us and for you, definitely. So now I will pass the floor to Georges in order to give you some more insight on what we mean. Let's start with what we mean by interoperability and by the ISA² program. Georges, the floor is yours.
Thanks. Thanks, Ludovic. So welcome all to this webinar. So thanks for the effort, because normally it was something we planned to do on, I would say, real life. But I mean, this is what happens. We hope we have more participants in this way. So here I present, I think many of you are already familiar with the ISA² program, but since we are also reaching some national programs that may have not heard, do not know exactly what is we're doing in interoperability and the ISA² program. So I will start with the program ISA². So it's a program for interoperability solution for public administration. It's run by the Interoperability unit. We have 130 million of budget span over 6 years. This is the last year. And so we develop specification standards, and one of the action is also to, scope of the program is also to disseminate what we are doing and to have engaged public administration in the interoperability matters. So this program was elaborated and I would say validated in the scope of a number of policy actions. So there was first, it was said that it will contribute to the eGov government action plan that's also finishing this year, and the European Interoperability Framework. I will say some words about it in the next slide. It was also stressed that interoperability by default should be it's a condition to achieve e-government objective, as it was stressed by the 2017 so-called Tallinn Declaration, the Ministerial Declaration on e-government. It's also interoperability is also important mention in the digital single market strategy. And it contributes as well to many policies. The program has actions that contribute to, for example, the Open Data Initiative, the Public Sector Information Directive, the Once Only Principle, the Digital Single Gateway, etc. And it also works in complement with other European Commission programs, such as the Connecting Europe Facility, the so-called building blocks. We are also contacts with the European Social Funds and regional funds, and I could say also the support Structural Reform Support Center, which is called now Regional DG Reform. And next. Yeah. So, and one of the scope of the ISA² program is support the so-called interoperability European framework. So what we mean by interoperability is to allow different organizations to interact and to have, to agree on certain goals, to be able to exchange information and process. So there is a lot of things to do. So it's not only the technical to have, I would say, networks communicating together. It goes really beyond. And this is why there was the elaboration of the European Interoperability Framework. So this is, I would say, it's a conceptual model. It's divided in 4 levels of interoperability. There are 12 underlying principles and there are 47 recommendations. And here you have the ventilation of the different recommendations. I would say the 4 levels, we have the technical interoperability, which is, I would say, this is something that we see that is mostly industry driven to ensure technical interoperability between systems, databases, network, etc. Semantic interoperability, we have some assets in that matter. So it's to have common data models and having ways to exchange data in a way that everybody understands. Organizational interoperability is one of the most important one, where you have to ensure that business processes are aligned between different actors and that we can ensure a seamless flow of information between, I would say, administration in a land or between different countries or even as well now across sectors. and legal interoperability. That also this is quite important in Europe because first we have a corpus of law that is ever increasing because we have national, we have international law, and we have also to take into account now because of digitalization that to take the digital aspects when we elaborate laws, such as, one example typical, which is now heavily used in those days, is digital signature. So you have to ensure that you allow digital signatures in your law, that it doesn't go against. Next. So here I will come why we made this activity. So, the ISA² program, we have a number of solutions we develop. There are software, for example, the European Citizen Initiatives, validation of signature is developed by the program. We have other tools such as EU Survey. We also develop data models and core vocabularies for government, public administrations. And one of the objectives of ISA program is also to ensure that we ensure that dissemination and the knowledge about Interoperability Academy. At the same time, there are also on digital skills. There are also a number of actions. So you know about digital skills in European Commission. So we need to tackle because there is a digital skills gap. And so there is a commitment of the Commission to support this for the whole society, not only for the public sector. There is also the new priorities to have Europe fit for a digital age. So it's to empower people with a new generation of technologies. And this means as well, we have to give skills to the students, to the whole society, to the elderly people, but also to workers to help them either reskilling and to evolve in new type of jobs. So, and there will be also digital skills is also a very important matter, especially where we fit maybe the best is a Digital Europe program where we are there is a part that is promoting advanced digital skills on new technologies such as AI, cyber security for public sector as well. So this is where we would like to see this action evolved. And the Interoperability Academy is really a mean to develop advanced digital skills for the public servant in Europe. And this is why we have you today, because we need your help, because this is mostly for the people working in Europe. And now I will give the floor to my colleague Victoria, who will explain more in detail what the action is achieving. Victoria.
Hello, good morning all. Just give me a second to fix my phone as well so you can see me. And yeah, let's hope it's work. So without any further delay, it's a video, I think. Yeah, start presenting. Okay, sorry, I was trying to put my video, but it doesn't work. So if I can have like the screen, please, again, and the presentation.
Yes, 1 second.
Thank you, sorry. The good of the technology. So George explained the why, the policy context behind it, and how this is related to interoperability as a whole. So Interoperability Academy was like initiated to find the way to the gap that was there. Not only that, just to see what was the digital skills gap, but also what was the interoperability initiatives that created a lot of materials. And they were like, nobody wanted to find out where in one place or this and under a structured methodology. So the two main scopes, like first of all, to minimize the digital gap, and especially the main stakeholders were the civil servants that working mainly for public administration, but not only, to provide specialized online training and training programs, but under the aspect of interoperability. So we don't take as a whole everything that is related, as George said, but mainly the actions that came from interoperability in ISA and ISA² actions. So one of course, the main objective is to raise awareness on interoperability and the solutions, but under specific educational approaches that wasn't there before. The other thing is not only coming from the central and public administration, but also go in depth and see also what is going on and support regional and local governments as well to the implementation of interoperability, but also under the the umbrella of European Interoperability Framework. So the European Interoperability Framework will be the first course. That is why we say this, and this will be constructed after the curriculum that will go under this. The other thing is we did a desk research analysis, not only from the status of the other member states, but also on the literature review and the academic as well place. And we found that there were a lot of skills that are not together in the area of interoperability. So if someone wants to learn what is there and how to accomplish and better help interoperability, we need to develop digital skills that are for this. So that is why interoperability helped. And that is why one of the things that we wanted to create it. The other thing is that we find out that there are different, in the stakeholders, there are different participants that have different curses and different learning parts according to the user status that you will see in the following hour from our colleague's presentation, and how this fits in the interoperability area. And finally, we will develop a platform, an e-learning platform that will combine all this, not only the solutions, but also a platform that one can be there and focus on this. We wanted, especially interesting this is that it's not only the Interoperability Academy, but also this will be go hand in hand together with workshops, seminars, or other training sessions, or collaboration with training academies or member states public administration, so to work together and enhance this community. The other thing that we would like to do, and this is one of the outcomes that we will have, that the learning management system that we like to have will be based on open source and open standards. So it will be like much easier for everyone to participate and easier to sustain in the end. And of course, to have like a certificate of attendance, so that can help like the knowledge to be transferred and maintained and create a community around it. The next one, please. So in the next two slides, what you will see is more or less the main achievements that we will came up to now, and also the timeline. As you will see, the timeline is not like starting like we say that it's August 2019, but actually it was the start of the project, not the initiation phase, because the initiation phase and the inception came a long way before. But in order to make it more concrete, I tried to cut together and start quickly on and making this happen, we had to cut it in phases. So the first phase will be more or less the initiation and the gathering of material, let's say, organizing the material, see what are the main needs. And also, this was the first inception phase. So can you go back, please?
Okay.
Thank you, sorry. So, and one key milestone on this was the Interoperability Academy Winter School that we presented part of our work that started, and also we discussed together with many of you, and thank you for this, that you really helped us a lot, and it helped how to go on this and continue the second phase. So after this workshop that we have different participants, not only for public administration, but also young professionals and also private sector professionals as well. That was very interesting. So we went to the other phase, which is like categorization and actual phase of the action. That includes now the first training period that we are about to do and the first modules. After this, in about July 2020, we will have like the first release, hopefully, and the test and beta. And then we'll have work on improvement and expansion of the courses, but also a way to move forward as well. Yeah, the next one, which is more concrete. So more or less what already told is the outcomes from the inception phase. And firstly, we would like to thank you all for your feedback and the reply to our emails and requests on this, because it helped a lot. So what it did is like the main things that we did is it's like we started creating the paths and the profiles. We made an analysis of the most used e-learning management systems, and also taking into account that we wanted to have open source. And then we go on the second one. So we just try to improve the catalog, and also connected the connected European facility materials that were also important, and are built in this interoperability area. Then we try to finalize the learning profiles and learning paths according to a curriculum that will be made, and the main requirements that will be for Interoperability Academy. Then we try to find which were the most important modules, and we select some of them, so we can start the minimum product, so we can start working on this. And of course, the governance model that is now in progress, and then a continuous comparison to ensure that the go live will, at least although the difficulties will be like June or July with the first course of EIF. The vision of future, and it's really, really important, because now we believe that we are still in initiation phase, because we didn't have like the platform ready out. So we really count on you to see how we continue this, and what are the main courses and what are the gaps. So we are planning to have like summer and winter schools, and face-to-face trainings, not now of course, but after all this health crisis passed. So we will try to do this and continue to collaborate with many organizations and so on. What we want to do is like work with you together to see what is the need for next training module, what is the, like in 5 years, what is the need to continue, and how to elaborate further on this. So continue and online improvement will be one of the phases for the next years to come. And we have to say that we are really excited about this, because we believe that this knowledge is for transferring, not to be kept inside. Yeah, that is on my side. I hope you could hear me. And yeah, I pass the floor to my colleagues to go to the main fields. Thank you.
Thank you, Victoria. Thank you. So now we're switching to the current achievements, and Victoria already mentioned what we achieved in the first phase, which ended this February. So we had the opportunity to present our results at the Winter School. What was already mentioned, some of you had the opportunity also to participate in the workshop and to provide us feedback. But with some of you, we also had opportunity to talk in dedicated meetings, and also to collect your feedback from the emails. And I will also use this opportunity to thank you a lot for all your efforts, because we are really taking into account all your comments, and because we want to create one platform which will fit also your needs. And also many of you have really extensive experience in this field, either interoperability or e-learning. So now we also use this webinar as an opportunity to continue this good practice of collecting feedback. But what we did since March till now, so everything that we received from you, we analyzed, and we made already some improvements. So on the catalog of the educational resources, which I'm going to present in the next slide, we included new materials, everything that was produced since this winter school until now. But we also tend to make this this catalog more user-friendly. So we included all your comments, and you will see how it looks now. But also for some of you who haven't seen it so far, this will be an opportunity to see how we shape the catalog. Then we also got some suggestions about the categorization that we use for materials. So we included new aspects in categorization, such as social inclusion, and then we categorize materials according to that. And also when we developed first learning profiles and learning paths and presented them to you, we got a comment that we should include some less technical profiles, which we did, and you will see in the following slides. So these are the main improvements which were done in this couple of months, but we also continue working on the analysis of the e-learning platforms and LMS systems and everything that Victoria mentioned. So I won't take more time to go again through it. So now I'll present you the catalog. All of you had opportunity to, you got that in the email on Friday, I believe. So for you who had an opportunity to see, to click on the links that we provided, here is the catalog. So of course, after this webinar, you will get the presentation and all the supporting materials. So if you want to see something, you will have opportunity to have a look. So the catalog now looks like this. So what we did, we clustered all actions per topic, which you can see here. So we have different topics and then the actions. And here in this blue box, we also explain the categorization. So you can also see how we clustered all the materials. When you click on each of these pages of these actions, the new dedicated page will open where we placed all the materials which were produced under an ISA action. But what is the new, what is the change? We also included the SEF materials, so all the materials which were produced under the SEF building blocks. All materials which you can find here are categorized based on the categorization which I mentioned. And here you will see that we tag them according to level of specialization or interaction and time of publication. So, and social inclusion, like we mentioned. So this will help you more to understand the material that is developed under a certain action. And all of them are also organized according to difficulty level. So it goes from the basic to advanced. So if you want to learn more about the action itself, you also have the explanation in this blue box, which will also redirect you to the action page so you can learn more. But also you will get more insights of different aspects of the action. So you will get the materials there. But what I wanted to highlight here is that this catalog should be taken as a library, so something that you can use to learn more about different actions and everything that was produced under either ISA or SEF program. And this is just the basis for the training modules which will be developed. So when we presented this catalog at the winter school, we had a bit of misunderstanding that this catalog is the learning material. So this is just the material which will be incorporated in the future learning platform, which you can visit also now. But we will go one module per module, and these materials will feed in these training modules. And now, talking about that, we would like to hear also more from you, what you would like to see at the platform. And for this, we will use slido.com, and I will invite all of you to go to slido.com and to use this webinar ID because we have a couple of questions. So we wanted to hear what you would expect to see on the Interoperability Academy learning management system beside research solution documentation. So we showed you now the materials which are currently in the catalog, but what else you would like to see, what you expect to see, and also those of you who have experience with, because we have representatives from other academies, what you have on your learning platform that that is useful to your users. And the other thing that we would like to know is, would you prefer to have all the learning materials, all the supplementary materials at the platform, or to be redirected to the external library? So these are two questions that we wanted to discuss now. So you can go to Slido. We will soon have it also on the screen. But after you respond these questions, we would also like to hear more. Yeah, thank you, Konstantinos. So now you should be able to see questions on the screen. Then we would really invite you to elaborate some of your responses and to tell us more. So you can unmute your microphone and just comment on this. Thank you. So we'll have 2 to 3 minutes to respond each question, and then we will start with the discussion. Thank you.
Katerina, would you like
yes.
me to give a bit of additional background to this as well?
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Okay, it's Barry Kruger here. I'm working with Traces. And just while you're thinking about these questions, the reason we're asking these questions is because we have a bit of a problem. It's a challenge to solve, I suppose, because we have, as Katerina has demonstrated, a variety of materials that are currently sitting on the join-up library. We're building an LMS, the Interoperability Academy, which will deliver e-learning. So there's a question about how we bring the two together. And really this question is about, would you expect all of that stuff to sit in one place? So as well as e-learning, should the LMS also deliver all the background stuff as well? Research, case studies, policies, standards, specifications, all the things that ISA² has collected together over the last few years. Or should that sit separately? You know, would you prefer that to sit separately? Would you prefer just to see the e-learning on the LMS and then we can link externally to all of those things? Or would you expect to find it all in one place? I suppose that's what's really behind all of this. So if you could just think about those things while you're looking at the questions on Slido, then we'll come back in a couple of minutes.
We will have 1 more minute to respond to questions, and then we can go back to discussion. Okay, thank you. Now I'll share my screen. So, of course, we will take into account all your responses and share it also after the webinar. But now we would like to invite you also to elaborate your responses. So the floor is yours. Please just unmute your microphone and.
Okay, so if I may, I can start. So my answer, what is missing was e-learning courses and videos, interactive courses. Because from what I see from my experience working in DEFCO Academy, we also have documents, guidelines, but the content which has the biggest amount of users and also engaged users is actually e-learning courses and videos. Also, we are moving in the direction of micro-learning. That's why I also mentioned it in my reply, because, well, we see that even if we post interactive content, a video, the drop out rate starts after 3 minutes already. So we have professionals that are really busy and that we really need to give them easy to digest solutions. And I think that's why it would be good to have. And for the second question, I've chosen that it would be good to have everything on the platform, because I'm wondering how could you collect statistics also on who see the content if you link this content to external platforms. That might be problematic. This is why also on DEFCO Academy we have everything in one place, and we are quite satisfied with this solution, to be honest. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I mean, it would be interesting to have the answer of somebody who answered they would see separately external repository. Because, I mean, to be honest, I'm a bit surprised that there are so many answers asking for external repository. So it would be good to understand why, if somebody wants to talk.
George, this is Miguel, your colleague. I voted for this option because I can understand it can be very, very challenging to include in the first round all the content that is relevant to interoperability in one place, to centralize. I think it's more feasible maybe to federate existing repositories and to have the right links the same way you are doing in JoinUp for different open source repositories. So basically that was my mindset, because maybe at member state level or in different academic institutions, they have the same kind of learning academies, learning platforms with some content that is relevant to us. So this federation could happen by just having links to these external repositories, and to be able that when you launch a query, a survey, you can retrieve the right link. So that was my mindset.
Hello, I also voted for external repositories, Katarzyna Zaba here, because it just, from a practical point of view, it seems difficult to keep up with the changes that may happen in the contents. And if you have a link to the source document, then if there is an amendment or an update of a content, then you are linking to the updated content. And from our experience, it is very difficult to keep up with the changes and to, especially if you have a large database of documents.
So one comment from my side, Robert Kremer. I agree with Katarzyna about the refreshness of or the freshness of the documents and to keep them up to date. But then sometimes you have problems that it's proprietary content and that's access restricted. So not having the content on one platform altogether can be cumbersome because not everybody has access to all the information, and unless of course everything is open access, then this problem is not there, but maybe not every content will be. So really depends. If only open access content is being linked, then I see no problems, but you know, otherwise I would prefer to have it all on one platform.
Thank you, Robert. Anyone else that would still believe that, yeah, probably to have it in a centralized way would help?
Just on this, I'm Victoria, a comment, Ludovic, and for the others. So we will share the results, and of course, because we want to share it with other participants that we weren't able to join, so of course we will not reach a conclusion here, just to see the majority of people what they think. So it's really important to have like a balanced view.
Good afternoon, welcome back everybody. My name is Barry Kruger, working with Traces. Specifically, I've been looking at user requirements. So Katerina and Victoria sort of went over this a bit earlier on in terms of our achievements so far. Essentially what we've been doing is looking at learner profiling. So that's learner requirements, user requirements. Based on that and on the back of that, then mapping learning paths. And the idea is to develop a picture of the variety of the different types of civil employees that may use the platform, and then develop technical requirements and system functional requirements, which is where we're just a couple of weeks into that at the moment as well. So what I'll do is I'll just take you through some of the things we've been doing over the last couple of months. I've then got a couple of questions, as we had before, which will help us sort of model what we're doing and make sure we're in the right area before I'll then start looking at the functional requirements. So essentially what our research has shown us is that there is a wide variety and a diverse set of potential users of the platform. They're likely to have a fairly widespread knowledge of technology. So we can expect people with very little technical knowledge to users that might have a great deal of technical knowledge. So we have to cater for all of those different skills. We'll also need to cater for a variety of professional backgrounds. And with that in mind, we've developed 10 learner profiles. So these are essentially pictures of people, different sorts of people that might use the platform and the sorts of things that might motivate them to use the platform to learn more about interoperability. We've got to the point where we've modeled 10 different potential roles. Now, obviously, there are many, and we have to decide, where to stop. The 10 we've chosen, we hope, are representative of the types of people that will be using the platform. But again, you can tell us when I show you them whether we might have missed any sort of things out. And then based on that, we've developed the ways in which that they might navigate through the different sorts of learning experiences that they might have. So these are the learning paths. The first thing to emphasize, of course, is that being the Interoperability Academy, we have to be interoperable, of course. So what we've done when we've modeled the learner profiles is make sure that we are basing it on existing research and standards. Okay, we don't want to do this again. We don't want to reinvent the wheel. So in coming up with the different profiles that we've come up with, the 10 different profiles, we've used actually mainly the ESCO standard, the skills, competencies, qualifications, and occupations standard, and specifically the occupations classification within that to look at some of the roles that we might want to model. So that was one of our base standards that we used. Also, in trying to get a picture of the different sorts of digital skills that our users may have, we've also looked at areas such as the European standard for ICT professionals, role profiles. Digicomp has been very helpful, and also the e-competence framework, which is specific to IT workers. So having based our work on that, we came up with the following template. Essentially, this gave us a way of standardizing the information for all our roles according to the specifications that we were looking at. So you'll see there are very clear areas here. We've looked at specific, as I said earlier, occupations and the classifications of the occupation, which is based on ESCO and to some extent the CWA standard, with a description, accountabilities, responsibilities, those sorts of things. But then we've taken a snapshot. So it's a kind of a summary of the tasks and knowledge that those people might be expected to have, as well as the digital competencies they may be expected to have as well, with some persona-related information, so the sorts of challenges that they might encounter and the sorts of things they may require from the learning platform. So this is one of the roles that we looked at. We've done this quite recently, actually. When we did the winter school, if any of you were present at the winter school, it was recommended to us that we look at local civil employees, especially those that are involved in local administrations. So we've looked at the role which ESCO calls the town or city councillor. And this is an interesting one from my perspective, because people in this role, for example, are likely to be elected representatives. These people might find themselves in a job very quickly, having not done it before. Okay, so it's a very interesting set of requirements that this particular role might have from the Interoperability Academy. And they're probably likely to want a very high level introduction in terms of an introduction to the interoperability framework. And then potentially some more specific competencies based on that. If you look at the digital competencies box at the bottom, you'll see that, you know, these roles may potentially not have much digital experience at all. So we need to make sure that the sorts of learning delivered to them are not assumed to be for people with high digital skills. So that's a kind of an overview of one of the roles that we looked at and the ways in which it might help us understand them. We have 10 of them, as I said, so we have 3 which are IT focused. So we've got a CIO type role, systems architect role, and a developer role. The idea is we wanted a picture of what a senior IT person might want, what a mid-level manager might want, and what an implementer might want. We've also then got more generic roles. So we've got policy managers, project managers, and then more recently, we've introduced those that might be responsible for legal decision making in public administrations, financial decision making, as I've just said, those that are responsible for local jurisdictions, as well as public administration managers generally. And then what we've done is we sort of split the requirements that these roles might require into knowledge and skills based learning. So, I mean, that was a very quick snapshot. I'm just going to show you these slides again, because what we're going to ask you is if you think we've got anything missing from these. Now, remember, these are supposed to be generic roles. We're trying to kind of capture a snapshot of the types of people that we'll have. So we're not going to go into very specific details here. But if you do see something that's missing from these 10, so as I said, CIO, systems architect, developer, the IT roles, policy and project management type roles, local administration roles, legal roles, financial roles. We've also got a civil engineer in there because those people may or may not work for public administrations. They may work on behalf of external consultants for public administrations, but they may require detailed background and learning about things like, for example, location-based data interoperability and GIS and those sorts of things. Okay. The questions we're going to ask you are, first of all, are the learner profiles that you've seen sort of representative of the types of roles that you have in your organization or field, wherever you come from? And while you're thinking about that, don't go into too much detail, but just sort of think about whether any kind of mainstream role has fallen by the wayside that we might want to consider. So I think we're going to go to Slido now. Yep, there we are. We'll take 2 or 3 minutes on that, and then we'll come back and have a discussion. I'm seeing the numbers slowing down a bit, so I'm guessing that most people have had their say. Just quickly, any observations? Does anyone have any sort of observations about the sort of things we've looked at there? That's very interesting.
Yes, one observation maybe.
Sure, yes.
Theo Jans from EPA.
Hi, Theo.
No, I thought the profiles were nicely done. It's the first time I look at this, so I'm a novice, so take it with a pinch of salt what I say. Having said that, the profile that I often encounter, but I don't know how to authoritatively call it, but I'm thinking about sort of the commission equivalent of the AST official, so not the AD official, but the more implementing oriented official, not necessarily a program manager, but an administrator who executes. I don't know to what extent, of course, they're affected by interoperability issues, but that is a profile that I, for instance, deal quite often in my own organization and also within the commission. I don't know if the profile that I'm referring to is clear.
I think so. So it's kind of a top-level manager that still has hands-on implementation obligations.
The AST could be, well, for example, in training departments. These are the people just organizing the trainings.
Right.
They're not policy officers. They are not really in charge of a project. That's usually, I think, a head of sector or so. But the operational execution of an entire training program, for example.
Okay,
yeah.
Great. Thank you very much. Yes, we'll take that into consideration. Does anybody else have any observations before I move on to the next section?
Yes, this is Spyros Papaspyrou. If I can suggest, I don't know, about stakeholders that somehow participate actively in in shaping public policy, or they participate, in the local parliaments, and they are playing a crucial role, like intermediaries between the policy makers and the public sector and the SMEs, and maybe we should incorporate them in these profiles.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, we'll take that into consideration as well. Just very quickly, anybody else? Okay, I'm going to share my screen again. There we go. So hopefully you can see that now. So moving on from learner profiling, in essence, learner profiling is designed to give us a snapshot of a persona and a particular role within a particular organizational context. The next stage was then looking at how that might transfer to learning requirements from the LMS. Okay, so exactly how these different sorts of people might move their way through learning on the platform. So basically, we put together learning paths, but at the same time thinking about how the curriculum structure may work, because of course that will be one of the major ways that they engage with the learning on the platform in terms of both search and delivery, and keeping in mind, of course, the fact that we are developing a competency-based framework. So mostly the learning will be based around mastery of tasks and activities, which is competencies. So the learning paths were modeled on established learning paradigms, essentially. We came up with sort of 3 templates: the traditional subject-based learning path, which is based on a formal learning requirement, which can then be searched within the LMS against a structured curriculum or a structured taxonomy. Then topics could be found. Courses related to those topics can then be pursued, completed, competencies, knowledge, and if applicable, certification attained. And then, of course, if it's differentiated and if you want to then progress to further learning, that would then count as a prior learning requirement for additional courses. So that's a fairly standardized route through a traditional curriculum-based learning management paradigm. What we've also thought about is more problem-based approaches. And we're looking at more constructivist, for those of you that are educationists, constructivist learning approaches. It's about active learning. And what our learner profiling has told us is that a lot of this is going to be about people that just want to solve problems. They just want to understand how, for example, open licensing works, or they just want to understand how location interoperability works, or they want to know what the European legislation identifier is, those sorts of things. They just need an answer. Okay, so they're going to start with a problem statement. Interestingly, they may not come to an LMS, first of all, they may just do a web search. Okay, so we have to think about that and how we figure within those sorts of elements. And then the types of things that might provide their solutions. Yes, it will be e-learning. Yes, it may be micro-learning, but it might also be collaborative learning. So it could be forums, it could be peer support, and it could be other things like case studies and policy and specifications and those sorts of things. And then combining those 2 paradigms, the third model we looked at was learner-driven methodologies, which basically starts with a set of personal development goals. And those within a formalized career structure may have a career path. They may have development goals based on that career path, and they may have various ways that they meet those personal development goals, which could be formalized. So it could be curriculum-based. It could be problem-based, so it could be topic-based, but it could also be community-based as well. And they may be a member of a professional association, which provides vocational training for them within that. So again, how do we cater for these sorts of things? So taking that into consideration, of course, none of those is exclusive. You know, none of these are exclusive to sets of people. When we've taken these and modeled them on the roles that we have, you'll see a mixture of those approaches coming through. Okay, so just taking one of our roles, the town city councillor, is likely to just want an introduction to the EIF. Okay, so the EIF foundation course, in here it's on red, which means it doesn't exist at the moment, but it is being worked on and will exist when we launch. That's probably one of the things they'll want to look at. And then they may have a learning objective, which is, you know, they've basically got to look at some policy on public procurement. Maybe they've got a public procurement going on within their district and they want to make sure that it meets the interoperability requirements for public procurement practice across Europe. Okay, so the ESPD leaflet, the European Procurement Interoperability Initiative, those sorts of things might be applicable here. So again, you can see the different sorts of ways that we, as a learning management system, as the Interoperability Academy, will have to meet these different requirements. Then we thought about how they will interact with the platform, which is the learning map. I won't spend too much time on this, but essentially you'll see that potentially this role, so, you know, the local counsellor may want to have curriculum-based learning, but they may also just want access to a knowledge base. They may just want to do some further research. So the question we were asking earlier in the session about how we manage this is going to be quite important. You know, do they find this all in one place, or do we point them to the places where they can find it? So those are the sorts of questions that we'll be asking and trying to answer as well. Okay. So again, just having looked, I mean, we looked at those learning paths very quickly, but just thinking through what we've shown you, can you have a think about the types of learning paths for the particular roles we've looked at? And just if you could just have a think about whether that meets your expectations. And in terms of specifics, so in terms of what you would expect for the initial launch, which is going to be in the summer, June probably, what are the sorts of things you'd expect straight away from our curriculum in terms of topics and courses? Okay. So again, we're going to go onto the voting platform for a few minutes, and then we'll come back and have a quick discussion. Is it possible to see the answers to question 5? Because I can't see those. Ah, great. Okay, fantastic. Okay, so we have ethics, data, privacy. Great. Okay. Cost efficiency. That's a really interesting one, actually. Yes, differentiation, beginners, advanced is likely to be something that we do. Okay. So we've got some. It looks like we've got some good suggestions there. Just finally, before I move back into the presentation, would anyone just like to make any observations or suggestions? Okay. Moving back into our development schedule then, of course, what all that is building up to, the learner profiling, the user requirements, the learning paths, the learning maps, is all building up to us being able to develop functional requirements and technical requirements for the platform. That's really what this is all about, and that's what we've been working on for the last few weeks. We've been building up a set of requirements that cover a number of different functional domains. We've been looking at user experience, learning management. By learning management, I mean the ability to create and manage a curriculum and then enroll learners, as well as, of course, the ability to create courses and manage those courses within that curriculum context. Then, of course, we've been thinking about content management, and that, of course, is the content which is separate from courses. So those are the small things like videos, like documents, and all the other different sorts of things that we have on JoinUp at the moment, how that is going to fit into the bigger picture. And then behind all of that, of course, we've been thinking about how the technology is going to work in terms of platform administration, how eventually, probably in later phases, how testing, assessment, and certification might work. And of course, quite importantly, how data analytics will work for as well, because we obviously, at the same time as delivering learning, we also want to understand how it is working and how the impacts, how we're making an impact across the different jurisdictions of the 27, and hopefully have some nice analytics about that, because of course then we can that informs our future development of courseware. In terms of issues and priorities, we are thinking about things like branding and identity and how we can manage that within the paradigm of the platform that we're choosing, how roles and workflows will work. We have a question coming up about that in a second. We've already asked a question about relationships with existing content repositories and libraries like JoinUp, as well as how we might use tools for communication and collaboration, understanding, of course, that peer-based learning approaches, social learning, is probably as important as the excuse me, as the e-learning element. And then finally, that sits within the context of the competency-based curriculum that we are currently developing, which will frame everything on the portal. So now we are going to move to the last set of questions. I think these are the ones that have been emailed to you already. Essentially, we'd like to understand a bit about you and what you're doing currently. We are particularly interested in any of you that have experience of using Moodle, because Moodle is likely to be, well, it will be the platform technology that we'll be using. Or any other types of Moodle implementation, like, for example, Moodle workplaces. So first of all, which LMS platform you're currently using. Then, obviously, we have to set up our presence within that platform. We have to think about the different sorts of roles that we have, how we set up administrators, course creators, students, learners, course managers, those sorts of things. So again, we'd like to understand how you've done that and how successful you've been at doing it. And then the workflows that have sat on top of those roles, and how easy that is to do, and how successful you've been for that. Then there is some question about how you create your learning materials and how you make sure people can find them, which of course is incredibly important. You know, in the first phases, there won't be that many courses. They'll be in the tens rather than the hundreds, but as we grow, it probably will be in the hundreds. So then there's a question about how you ensure that you make sure that all the important stuff is visible. And then finally, some practical questions about the languages that you use in terms of your platform, the languages you use for your content, and then a question about whether we can then join up to share knowledge about your approaches. So have we, I'm just going to come out of that now, go back to the presentation. We've got Slido set up. So if you could have a look at those questions, we will then come back for the final session of the webinar. As we take those, I'm going to hand back to Katerina now. So thanks very much for your participation. And I think we'll be doing some feedback in a second, Katerina, is that right?
Yes, yes. So now we are going through all these questions. And of course, if anyone wants to elaborate the response, please do so while we are talking, while we are filling in the pool. And after that, we'll give you some more information about the next webinar and how we can stay in touch. Thank you.
I am Victoria. Just a comment here, because I just like the rate of response has fallen, because I just see now 6 participants. So if you can please, at least the ones that is easy, you can jump in and, you know, just put your opinion as well. So at least you have a representative presentance, because like 7 people out of, you know, in ISA² 30, it was like, so I don't know if this is like good or bad. So if you can please just the easy ones, at least you can just put your opinion. Thank you. Okay, this is really interesting, the question number 9, that it's equally like the workflows and like on the other side, they don't have an opinion. Yeah.
Yes, that is interesting, isn't it? I think.
Yes, it is.
Because a lot of LMSs don't, either don't allow you to create a formalized workflow, or it's not that easy to see how to do. So sometimes you have to create your own policy for how courses are created and then circulate those amongst staff. But yeah, that's interesting.
And of course, if anyone wants to comment, of course, can be freely talk. I mean, you can use, or you don't have to use your camera if you don't feel like it, or just comment in the chat as well. Yeah, there are some comments already. Maybe, I don't know, Katarina or Barbara, you can already talk with them.
Sure, yes. Robert, if you're still there, you're using Moodle. I was just about to ask, you've just answered my question, actually. So you are leaving it to individual teachers to publish on Moodle, yep. But you obviously, you've got a set of quality criteria that they have to follow. That's right, yes. I guess.
Yeah, so basically our university had a digitization initiative, which we call Taltech Digital. And as part of that, the aim was that all the courses should be e-supported by the end of this studying year. And basically, we just got told we need to have everything on Moodle. All the interaction needs to be there. It needs to have some testing possibilities for the students, but it was really up to the instructor, to the teacher, on how they would implement it. So in the end, it was with the support of teaching assistants and the individual professor or assistant, how they implemented it. And in the end, it would be checked by the vice rector for teaching if the courses are, and otherwise they get punished. Yeah. So
okay.
Next semester.
Okay. Right. So you have one platform for the entire institution, is that right?
Correct. Yeah, it's the whole university using the same Moodle platform.
Okay.
And that's for almost 10 years. Yeah.
Do you have a way of distinguishing the different faculties within that system?
Yes, but that's on the basis of the course name. So I mean, every course has a special identifier, and that is by faculty.
I understand, right? So you can just filter by that, I guess, in that case.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah. And how far do you find that your users are following the guidelines?
I mean, they're fairly. I mean, it also depends on the level of detail and experience. So it really depends on how the departments are internally sharing the experience. But for us, for our department, it was kind of like anyway the basic level that we have had for years. But we were quite advanced. But like in the engineering field, they were not really using this electronic support of their teaching. So
right.
They still like to do the presentation on the chalk bar and in the classroom. And for us, it was always
of course, yeah, which is natural. Yeah. Thank you very much. Does anybody else? I mean, anybody else have any experiences with Moodle or other platforms that they'd like to share with us? Good or bad?
We had one comment about Ilias LMS, so maybe we can invite Mr. Ilias to give us more information and experience with this system.
Hello.
Thank you.
I will provide you in a couple of minutes. This is what I was doing right now, a detailed report that I have developed on Ilias for JRC when I was exchanging with Paul, because they're working on the EU Academy over there. So I will send you now this document, and it has all the details that you need to know. I will pass it over in a couple of minutes, okay?
Fantastic. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye, guys. It looks like I cannot attach documents here in Teams. I will forward it right now to Victoria, and then Victoria can pass it over to you. Okay, guys?
Yes, thank you.
Great, thanks.
Thank you, Elias. Thank you, Robert, for your comments.
Maybe we can proceed with the last question. Thank you.
Victoria, can you please verify that you have received it?
Yes, I have received it. I'm checking how to send it to all participants, so I will send it to Katerina so she can distribute so that everyone can have it.
Thank you. I'll have also another comment on that in a couple of minutes. I'll give you more information where you can publish your material. Do you have any comments on this last set of questions? Do you want to elaborate any of your response? So the idea is here to, with this first last set of questions about language.
Katarina, I think you lost you. Maybe Bar, you can take over.
I think Katerina was just asking for a final input onto the last question, which looks like nobody has said no to, which is good. Okay, Katerina, did we lose you? I think we may have done. Okay.
I think this was the last question, right? Anyway,
it was the last question, so it's basically just some wrapping up to do. But if we've lost Katerina, I wonder if Ludo is there too.
I returned. I hope that you can see.
Yep.
Yes, my internet connection was broken. I apologize for that. So I hope that you can.
Yeah. Yeah. Sorry. There is also a question, I think, from Theo Jans, if I see correctly the name.
Yes, not a question. I just said that I was out of Slido and replied via the chat.
Okay, thank you. So I'm not sure where exactly you lost me. So what I was saying is that the idea of the Interoperability Academy is also to establish a collaboration with other digital skill initiatives. And we approached some of you in the past, and we hope to continue to collaborate. And why we ask this question about languages in which you're offering courses, or are you willing to translate courses to English, which will be the main language of the Interoperability Academy, is because we would really be interested to see what you're offering and what we could reuse for the Interoperability Academy, because the whole idea is to reuse, not to develop things from scratch, which already exist and they're used already in your public administrations or in your organizations, because we have here also people from the UN Academy. So we would like to invite you again, if you have any comments, closing comments or closing remarks about anything that we presented so far. So we would like to hear your general impressions, and then we will just show you a couple of things that are left in this presentation and give you more information about the next webinar. Thank you. So please feel free to just enable your microphone and speak. Thank you. Anyone? George, Victoria, do you have maybe some additional questions that you would like to?
No, I mean, for me, if I may, the ideas we would like to know. So, I mean, this is on the also on the catalog. If there are certain courses that you would like to I mean, also deploy in your national platform. So that's also because now we have the catalog. We will have the first e-learning course, but we would like to see as well how we could. I mean, because this translation. Multilingualism goes both ways, so you may have courses on your platform that you would like to reuse, but other way around, you might also would like to have some courses that we did in your platform, so it would be also maybe interesting for you. And this would be a corollary, another question linked to the others, that if we have, for example, we have the EIF courses, that if you would be willing to translate it, because normally what we plan to do as well, it's to offer all the SCORM packages for free, so they will be downloadable, so you can reuse them and deploy them in your platform as well. But we would like to be sure that we can advertise it as well, that we had some translation. We know that certain countries did it in the past, so that's something that could be also interesting for us as well to know. And maybe I take also the opportunity, we are at this time of crisis, and I mean, e-learning has become very important. The role of distance learning is very important. So we have also a collection. I will share the link in the chat, that if you want, I mean, either to share something you're doing in the digital skills, so that we could share as well on JoinUp to give an example of what other activities, because we have a collection where we have all those things about data, but we like to know on the digital skills part if there are certain activities targeting particularly this crisis as well. This is something that is timely, but it would be good as well, I mean, for both of us to advertise this type of things. I don't know if Victoria, you want to add something?
No, George, I think you covered it.
Yeah,
just this. Yes, please.
Just one remark is what would be interesting for me too from APA also is just to know what the Commission is using as a public authority, like LMS, like engagement tools. Now we're doing it via Teams, Zoom, and others. A bit the policy on that. The policy was apparently with third parties, WebEx, but then there is a strong push for Zoom, etc., etc. So I don't know. Just to as the Commission as a public authority, which LMS does it use? Which communication tools does it posit as useful? Or to be used, or the entire package. So just some information that I would find interesting. And then, but you don't need to reply to that immediately. I was looking at your website, and I found, for example, a course on better regulation, which surprised me. Very good. And there we can contribute, but it sort of triggered the question: what is the relation with interoperability of that topic? If I understand that better, then we could potentially also offer more topics, if I understand that connection better, because it's not so clear in regard to better regulation. That's it for me. So basically 2 remarks, if you will, but you don't have to provide the answer now. Huh? We can do that.
I can do it. It's very simple. I mean, we intervene because part of the legal interoperability we do. I mean, interoperability checks. I mean, ICT checks to see if any regulation, any legislative act takes into account ICT, I mean, impacts, if there are, for example, standards that have been defined, etc. So to be sure that every regulation, so we do so-called digital checks on regulation, and this has been incorporated into the better regulation. So it's I would say the IT digital checks, I would say, part of the regulation that we do.
Excellent, thank you.
For the platform, so Moodle has been, I mean, so far it's chosen as the platform because it's open source. So normally when we use open source, we don't have to justify because it's also something, I mean, it doesn't go, we are a public administration. And I mean, since you mentioned it about WebEx, as a public administration, the Commission is entitled to use of public procurement. And there was a call for tender for video conferencing tools, and WebEx has won the last. I mean, before it was Adobe, last one it was Adobe Connect. So this is why we use WebEx. So this is why we use WebEx for the time being. On the platform for providing courses, we did not really, I mean, think about it. There are still something to discussion, but it's something that will not come on the first release of the platform. It will come probably in 2021, 2022. So it's still an open discussion because at this time there will be a new contract for video conferencing. So we will see what is there at that time. But I mean, of favor, normally our program, we have one condition is everything we provide must be free of charge. So this is why we try to be, and reusable. So this is why we try to use as much as possible in the context of ISA² to use open source, open standards, etc.
Thank you.
Thank you. So anyone else that you would like to pose a question or comment?
It's Elias. If I may say
sure.
something on the synchronous communication level. I have recently tested during the weekend a new free access tool, the Big Blue Button, which is server-based, and it connects with an LMS through an API. So we link it up with our Ilias LMS, and pretty much it provides everything that Zoom provides. So from breakout rooms, whiteboarding, etc. The only difference is that it does not come as a service, but it is server-based, and it's highly dependent on your infrastructure and the personnel that supports it. So if you have Moodle, that means you have the infrastructure, you have the personnel, and you can go as well and install Big Blue Button as well and start using it. And now a question from my side. We have been using Zoom. Okay, and now after all this rumble with Zoom, it looks like it has been discontinued. We're no longer allowed to use it apart from EULearn, where they use it for the trainings. The point is, in the meantime, Zoom has done numerous security updates. Do we have a clue on whether the decision taken and the evaluation provided by EUCERT is something permanent, or it's going to be re-examined in the next month or 2 months, etc.? Because it was not something like a comparative analysis between Zoom, WebEx, and Teams and whatever. It was just a communication stating that Zoom is not a secure platform, so thus it is advised that you do not use it. Do we have any information on that one?
I think you have EUCERT. I mean, we have been advised, but everything is based on public information. So we can share it with you, but it's, you know, the EUCERT that works for the European institution has provided this. And I mean, when I saw the analysis, it's all based on public links, analysis that were done outside. So I guess that was...
Indeed, we have received this communication from EUCERT. But the point is that communication should have like a limited validity period. So re-examine it, let's say, within a month, and then see what kind of patching the company has done and whether now it is secured or not. Because in the meantime, they have deployed numerous updates, and they have covered for quite a few of the issues identified.
I mean, sorry to interrupt. If I would propose maybe to have this within the Directorate S, because as you, I just received we didn't take any decision ourselves. I mean, for the moment, it's, I mean, we don't know. I mean, we just follow the rules. So it's not that in our unit we decide whatever. So I mean, I don't know what is the validity if there are new rules, but we follow just now what the security directorate is telling us to do. So we just we don't decide. Sorry, I cannot be more. I cannot help you more on that.
Mr. Lobo, just for clarification, EU Learn is Moodle then?
The same EU Learn, I don't know. I mean, EU Learn is an internal project. As we say, and there was also, maybe Victoria, if you can confirm if we have the news about the EU Academy. So normally we will be part of a project for the external offer. But to be honest, I'm not sure. Maybe, I mean, I'm not sure the internal is based on EU Learn. I don't think there is an actual platform like we are using, because I guess it's a mix of different elements for the catalog, etc. And because most of the offer is still, I would say, course in person. So, but internal, I don't know exactly the details, but it might go also to Moodle as well in the future. But this, I mean, honestly, I don't know. It's also the GHR who is managing this. But we know that for the EU Academy, well, we will be a part of it. This is based on Moodle.
Yeah, and Victoria, in addition to what George said, of course, on the security things, we are not like responsible, and as you notice, we didn't even yet build the platform. So things that we say will come up back later. And also for the EU Academy, which is like a bigger project, we don't have yet concrete results or answers to say. But of course, if it's a bigger platform and comes public, Interoperability Academy will be part of it, because this is like a normal thing to do. You cannot have so many platforms around scatter, so we want to be one in one place. But at the moment, no, we don't know, and there is no link to internal or external, as George said. So just in addition to provide some more elements on this. And maybe if I may just to add something more about the plugin. So it's also in internal process. We are already starting and searching plugins, and we are also opting to more open source plugins just to see what is best. And we also made some tries, like for the Big Blue, etc. button. But this is really something that we have to do in a later stage, when we just we have like already the platform, the minimum viable product of the platform, so we can actually test the plugins as well. And I think, George, this is more or less right. So on the answer.
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, for us, it's not the first. I would say the first step to offer courses. Now, as you will see. I mean, the first release we will have the e-learning, so it will be.
I think that we lost George.
Sorry. Yeah, I clicked by accident on the. No, I was saying that at the first offer, the first phase, we will be mostly present asynchronous, content. So meaning that you can, whenever you want, you can use the content. So there will be, for us at the beginning, no need precisely to have, solution with video when you need to interact with the teacher. But as Victoria said, we will follow, because we will be part of a larger platform. So we will follow as well what will be the decision. We are stakeholders, and we will try to push for open source solution. And of course, if you have also any suggestions, any experience, this is also very important for us. It's because we have a variety of experience. So this is also very important that you tell us that advantages of drawbacks of solutions if we have tried, so we can also make an informed decision. That would be very important, because for us, as you know, we're starting, and we need. It's also for the people in your respective. We're doing that for the people in your respective constituencies and target stakeholders. So this is very important that you give us your feedback on this.
Thank you, George. So maybe if we don't have any more questions, we can proceed with the reminding information that we wanted to share with you, or anyone last opportunity for comment, for question? No? Okay, so now we want to share something more about digital skills in the public sector collection. As Ilias was mentioning the document and sharing of documents, so maybe I'm not sure if the document that was sent to us was something that would fit here, but we are inviting all of you to share any relevant news or the documents or events that you are organizing which are tackling digital skills to share here in digital skills in the public sector collection on Join Up. So there is a link here in the left corner to it, but we will also send you everything via email. So we are aiming to have everything open and accessible to the public. So all the materials which we produce, like learner profiles that were sent to you, or when we end the requirements for the Interoperability Academy, or when we develop courses, all news will be shared here, and we really tend to create one community around digital skills in the public sector. So please use these features that Join Up is offering to share, to either create a solution or share the news or join a discussion. So please, if there is any question that we didn't tackle during this webinar and you still want to provide your opinion, you can also provide by Join Up, so using discussions. So we have already a couple of questions about your learning platforms or the future training modules, selection of courses. So you can share it there. Of course, we really appreciate your feedback. So if not by Join Up, you can always reach us by email. So later we'll share the email address, which you probably know, but just in case. So here you will get the latest information, and again, we're inviting you to share your news. The last point for today is the next webinar. So most of you got already the invite for the next webinar, which will be on the 28th of May at 10. But if you haven't received the invite, please write to us and we will forward you the meeting request. Also feel free to forward it to any of your colleagues that might be interested or have experience that will be valuable for us. And now you saw more or less how we're planning to shape the Academy. So if there's anything, like any topic that you think that would be really relevant to be discussed at the webinar, also feel free to drop us an email and we will consider to include it. So this would be all from us. And we really appreciate your involvement here. All your feedback will be gathered, and after, in the upcoming days, we will send you, together with this presentation, a summary of our discussion. And always feel free to get back to us if you have any questions. So here are the contact information where you can reach us, and I would like to thank you from my side and to invite my colleagues also if they have some closing words, and see you on 28th of May. Ludo,
thank you,
Katarina.
Katarina.
Yes, thank you.
Yep. So anyway, I think Katarina mentioned really the main points we wanted to mention here. So definitely, I think it's and this webinar is a good example. It's really important to be in touch with you, to get also your feedback, to leverage on your experience. But also, I think there was one word that we put in one of the slides was about co-creation and reuse. So again, the idea for this academy will not be to start modules from scratch or to reinvent the wheel, but definitely to also reuse what has been already produced at your level. And in that regard, we will be in touch with you in these coming weeks. Definitely, we really encourage you to join the Join Up collection. That you have the link in the chat, and that will be the best way to get up to date on all the news around the digital skills. And definitely we are also looking forward to talk again to you in something like a month now, in 20 of May at 10 a.m. in the morning. So on behalf of the whole team, I would like again to really thank you for participating, and definitely do not hesitate to contact us for any question or discussion you would like to have. Thanks a lot again.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you,
Thank you.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.